The most important meal of the day, second breakfast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Second Breakfast podcast. I'm Andy Roth alongside Phil Duvall. Say hi, Phil.
I'm not only going to say hi, I'm going to say Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, Second Breakfast Nation. This is the one day where you don't have to have two breakfasts. You can enjoy us and yet not have a second breakfast.
It's true. It's true. It's true, because lunch is going to be served at like 11 in the morning, really. Or dinner. Dinner is served. What time is it? Isn't it like noon? Shh, dinner. Eat, we got to eat now so that we'll be ready for leftovers in 5 hours.
That's right. And our 4.5 hour nap between the two.
I love Thanksgiving in Southern California. It's like 65 degrees right now.
Nice.
And sunny, by the way.
I like Thanksgiving everywhere because I celebrate the extermination of an entire people. See what I did there?
Oh, stop. I'm so, I get people not liking Columbus Day, and fine, I'll let you have that.
Right.
Thanksgiving is glorious. I don't even care about, because when I'm thinking of Thanksgiving, I don't think about, I don't in any way think about the Indians and the
That's
Pilgrims.
right.
That's not something I think about.
That's right.
In fact, when people bring that up, I'm like, all right, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Like Thanksgiving, a day for giving thanks. Everybody just shut up. That's amazing. And by the way, another thing, don't call it Turkey Day. The greatest name a holiday has ever been given, Thanksgiving. And you can't say it? You have to be clever about it?
Right?
Eat turkey. Fine. Actually, I had a friend who pointed out to me on Facebook that it's a weird thing to call Thanksgiving Turkey Day because we eat turkey. No other day. She said on no other holiday would you eat the subject. Like, oh, it's President's Day. Watch out, Barack Obama.
Right. I need some more roughage in my diet. Good thing Arbor Day is coming up.
Exactly. It's Veterans Day. Don't forget to kill a veteran.
Right. Right. Time to go down to the VA. Right.
It's very strange. You'd think on Turkey Day we would be like, and that was the day we never ate turkey again.
Yes. So a friend of ours from Tufts, the stage manager of Buried Child, Sarah Limbris.
Sarah Limbris.
Right? She apparently was driving her kids to school or something, and a flock of turkeys took off running down the road. She was like, it was the greatest thing that's ever happened.
That's awesome.
We're making a break for it. We can do it.
We're gonna get there. Thank you for reminding me of her. What a good person.
Indeed.
A bright spot in that production for me, for sure, was getting to know.
For me as well, and I think my experience of that production might have been a little brighter overall, and yet still a bright spot.
I refuse to comment at this time. Let us move on to something other than this.
Yes.
Hey, everybody! It is a beautiful week.
It is a beautiful week.
I saw 6 movies last week.
Yeah.
Never seen any of them before.
Love it. I love that. Well done.
Had a breakthrough week. A breakout week, I should say. A breakout week.
Nice. Hit me.
I started the week with Room 237, which we talked about last week. If you haven't listened to our podcast about Room 237 and The Shining, we have a guest star. It's a great episode. I hope you all enjoy it. So I started the week with that. I then saw a movie called Nebraska.
Oh, how was it?
It was pretty... okay, here's what it was. Well, it was very fun. Wait, that's not a word for it. It was entertaining, but even that feels like you don't want to call it that. It was. Do you know how people saw Moonrise Kingdom and went like, "This is the Wes Anderson-iest movie that Wes Anderson has ever made"?
Is this the Alexander Payne-iest?
This is the Alexander Payne-iest movie that Alexander Payne has ever made. And I can
get behind that.
You can, and it is an accomplishment. I mean, I think something about The Descendants and Sideways, even though they were not super bright, happy movies, they were super entertaining. This is much more about Schmidt, and it's much more almost like Alexander Payne, no filter.
Whoa. Okay.
Bruce Dern is great. Will Forte is great. June Squibb is my early favorite for Best Supporting Actress right now.
Love it.
I mean, Phenomenal. Okay. Then I saw a film called Oldboy.
Ah, fantastic.
Do you have a question for me?
Have you seen the Korean original?
Andy, that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah!
I haven't seen the American version. I went on Netflix and watched streaming the
It's streaming?
original, of course,
Love
the
it.
original version.
Love it. What, pray tell, did you think?
I thought, why did they remake this? And I asked that question on every level. I asked it because to me, the only reason to remake this movie is, hey, they're talking in a funny language and they all look Asian. Let's go ahead and make one for white people now.
And as you have said, people don't like to read. So
I hated it. I hated reading this movie. I had to keep rewinding it because I was like, oh right, I have to read something. But like, it is a really messed up movie. And an accomplishment, and I guess they're gonna make. You've seen the remake. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the reimagining is what Spike Lee wants us to say. No.
Yeah, the original. No, please finish.
Well, the term "old boy" is a very specific term that I know it's based on a Japanese manga book and all that. But if you're gonna reimagine it, call it. The term "old boy" has a connotation in that culture, whereas for us it doesn't. There's no connotation for us in that.
Right.
So I think they could have just called it something else.
Yep.
And then I saw. Oh, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Just about the original. Good friend of the podcast, Andrew Blumberg, and I watched it. We were just like sitting around one day in my apartment watching a movie, or we were like gonna decide which movie to watch, and he was like, and I was like, do you want to go on like a really really twisted strange trip with me? He's like, sure, I'm up for it. And so I suggested Oldboy, and like over the next month, he would periodically like. We'd just be talking about something. He's like, "Man, I can't get Oldboy out of my head." It's that kind of movie. And I say that frankly as the utmost of compliments.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's solid, definitely.
Yeah, I'll save the rest of it for my movies.
Okay, I watched a movie called Oldboy. I said Oldboy. I watched Delivery Man.
How'd that go for you?
Vince Vaughn. It was good. It was a good movie. It was better than it could have been, and not as great as I hoped. So it's not the movie.
Well said. Okay.
It's not the movie that's going to like bring Vince Vaughn into the place in America's hearts that I think he belongs.
Okay.
But it's a solid sentimental comedy effort. And Vince Vaughn's performance is great because I think he's just a great comic talent. I really do.
Sure.
Chris Pratt's good in it. Kobe Smulders is in it. I mean, she doesn't really have. I mean, it's like they needed someone to play his girlfriend, so they got her.
Great.
It's not.
That's great. That's great. Because what I really want for her is the thankless significant other role.
Well, Andy, if that's what you want, this is the movie for you.
See this movie twice.
Yeah, it's true. After Delivery Man, I saw a little film by the name of Damsels in Distress. Do you know anything about this film?
Only what you posted on Facebook. I have a confession. Never seen a Whit Stillman movie.
I don't know what to tell you.
How about see a Whit Stillman movie?
Yes. I kind of grew up on them. I grew up like Metropolitan, Barcelona, but then he's only made 4 movies. He's only made 4 movies in I was like, Metropolitan, Barcelona, wait, that's half of his oeuvre. Like, I'm almost done with his filmography right there. The guy made 3 movies in the 90s and then just disappeared for 12 years.
Okay.
Damsels in Distress. We'll talk. You know what? I'm going to get to Damsels in Distress in a little bit. That's going to be my one big thing. So
okay.
I'll talk about that in a minute. And then finally, I saw Frozen yesterday. Andy?
Phil?
Holy crap.
That's exactly how I want every beginning to every Disney review to be. Just
Andy, this is the best Disney musical since Beauty and the Beast.
Cool. I am. Here's the deal. I want you to be right. I
am right. I mean, it's better than Tangled, obviously. It's better than Princess and the Frog, obviously. But I'm gonna go ahead. This is where I'm gonna clash with some people.
I haven't seen either of those movies yet.
That's
know
fine.
I need
It's
to.
better. It's better than The Lion King, and it's better than Aladdin. There, I said it.
Okay.
I would put it on par with I'd put it on par with Little Mermaid. I mean, this is a solid. I wouldn't put it with Beauty and the Beast yet.
Sure.
And I may never.
Sure.
But it is, and I'm not talking. If people know I have not mentioned Wreck-It Ralph. That's not a musical. That was my caveat.
Nice. Okay. Nice.
Frozen, man. You know that it was the people who did the music are the people who did the music for Avenue Q. Yeah, they got real Broadway musical talents, like they did with Howard Ashman for Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid. I mean,
Guys,
that's the deal. We're
gonna have to cut this podcast short. I have to go see Frozen now.
It's and Kristen Bell is one of the voices, by the way, Andy. You'll love that.
I knew that. Okay. I mean, come on.
I mean, it's the real deal. I'm actually friends with the sisters of the husband-wife team that are the composers of the music for this and Avenue Q.
I am devastated that we all haven't had dinner together.
It's true. I'll work on that. They're twin sisters, so if we both went, it would look like a double date, which would be awkward for my wife, your girlfriend. We don't want to do that.
Why are they not? Why are our women not invited, Phil?
No, they could. No, that's a good point. I don't know.
But here's the deal. I'm sure your friends are.
No, I know you're right. I don't know.
I don't want to have dinner just with the sisters.
No, you're right. Listen, I didn't mean it like that. It's one of those times where I try to talk and just nothing good comes
and you're like, wait, I should never have become verbal. That's a bad on my parents. Yep.
Strike that, reverse it. Okay. I'd love for you to meet them. I'll arrange it someday. But anyways, they did good work. I love it. I love this movie. I can't wait to see it again. So that was my list. All six, 3 in the theaters. I saw 3 movies in the theaters in January. I saw 3 movies in the theaters this week.
Well done.
And then and all of them brand new, and I liked every single thing that I saw.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay.
I liked everything that I saw. You beat me. You doubled me. I saw 3 movies.
Okay.
Only one was new. I saw Gravity 3D, not IMAX, because I don't think you can find that around here anymore. But I actually liked it more the second time because I came in without the expectations, and I mean, you know that I loved it, but the expectations were like, your eyeballs will be melted, and Alfonso Cuarón will lovingly craft new eyeballs to place within your head.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, okay, that didn't happen. This is the worst movie ever! And clearly I didn't actually think that, but there was an element that was not quite disappointment, but like the recognition that through no fault of the movie, I had expectations that were too high. We need a word for that. Because it isn't...
We do.
What is that?
It's a word my friend Jimmy... Go ahead.
Do not say disappointment.
It's not. It's so close. Are you ready?
Yes.
Antisappointment.
I love it. That's right. Is that Jimmy Bartz?
My buddy Jimmy Bartz came up with the word antisappointment, and he sings it. He's like, antisappointment. Antisappointment is a real thing. Disappointment doesn't begin to describe. Disappointment begins to describe.
Or ends to describe, as the case may be.
It doesn't fulfill,
right.
Like, antisappointment. Like, it's so built up, never had a chance.
I was antidisappointed. I was antidisappointed. That's true.
Yeah.
Not so this time. It was phenomenal. Loved it.
There you go. Welcome back to the land of the living, my son.
I saw The Hunger Games in anticipation, and I just saw it like a month and a half ago. I watched it again in anticipation of watching Catching Fire over the next couple days. Okay. And then I saw Oldboy.
Okay.
The remake or reimagining. And here's why I'm okay with like the reimagining title, because normally I think that's like Hollywood doublespeak. Because because apparently they based it off of the manga, not off of the original movie. It looks a lot like the original movie. Now the original movie might look a lot like the manga, so I'm not calling BS on that.
It's not a remake
of the
I mean,
movie.
it's like when people thought that the Coen brothers remade the True Grit movie, and it's like, no, they just made a
Went
movie
back
based
to-
on the book,
Right. Right.
right? Like,
Right.
that's all they did. Which I've read I
Totally
Kenneth
remade
Branagh remade Hamlet.
remade the Olivier movie Hamlet.
Right. Nope, he just did his version of it. That's all.
That's right.
I can respect that. I really can. I haven't seen the movie, so I read a review. I shouldn't have read a review. I've been going on the old AV club lately, and it's not as like whether I agree or not. I always appreciate their points of view.
Sure.
But it can be. But there was sort of like the thing this guy wrote was like, no, it's not that it's a bad movie. It's just that it doesn't need to exist, and that's a really like it. The problem for people who've seen the original is it needs to justify its existence, and he's like, and it doesn't need to justify its existence because. It's not because it's America. We can do whatever we want. Spike Lee can do whatever he wants, But it was interesting to me. I think I was kind of disappointed. I had thought, and I haven't seen it. I had thought Spike Lee, was like, I need to do this. And what apparently happened was that the studio was going to do this, and they got Spike Lee. They got Josh Brolin involved first, and then they got Spike Lee involved, and that's
Interesting.
slightly different.
It is.
But
No, I agree.
but look, the man stands behind it. Not all of his movies are gold, but he is clearly a very talented filmmaker.
Right.
But I think the thing about him that I have noticed is that I think his movies are always, to me, they feel so personal. And I
Sure.
wonder if this will even stuff like Inside Man, he somehow makes it feel personal.
I think he does a nice job of that. I think the story, and this is not to ding him in any way. I think the story. I think it's hard to make this movie even semi-competently, and he certainly surpasses semi-competent, by
Well,
miles.
that's
It's hard to make this particular story and have it not feel personal. I want to say a couple things about it. I don't know that I can recommend it to you. I'm not sorry I saw it. Josh Brolin is great.
Understand that if I have the means, I will see this movie.
Elizabeth Olsen continues to with a megaphone walk up and down the streets of Hollywood going, "What's up, Chloe Grace Moretz and Jennifer Lawrence?
Right.
Are you not entertained?"
Right. Are you not entertained?
Yes.
She's like the guy at the end of Dances with Wolves, standing at the top of the cliff. I was not afraid of you, Dances with Wolves. I was not afraid of you.
Yes.
That's her. I don't know. And I haven't seen this. Andy, honestly, you just said the reason why I will see this movie. Seriously.
Yeah, sure.
I like Josh Brolin, and he is reason enough for me to be interested.
Yep.
Elizabeth Olsen sold.
Sure. I'll also say this, and I find it difficult to say this without sounding dirty, but she might be setting a record for most consecutive times starting a career with nudity that is not gratuitous.
Like artsy nudity.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is more gratuitous than, say, Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene, which was absolutely not gratuitous. The argument can be made. Either way, I lean on not gratuitous just because of the situation in which it happens, but whatever. And also, I haven't even said the thing that I would assumed would have been the selling point for you, Charlton Copley.
Is he in this movie?
He's like the dude.
Okay.
Who has
and Sam Jackson.
Who is just weird.
I'm in.
I'm
in.
You know what I want to do? I want to play a character that reminds everyone aesthetically of Wesley Snipes in Demolition Man. And Samuel L. Jackson's agent was like, "Done, Sam. I got it for you."
That's great. I kind of wish that I'd never seen the original.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I kind of do.
Nope.
Kind of.
Why?
Because I would go see this movie and love it, probably.
Fair. It's different enough. I read a review of it. It's different enough that, I read a review of it that said it's very faithful, but where it differs, it goes wildly different. So
Okay.
it is able to be judged on its own merits. The other thing I'll say is I don't love just personal preference, and I don't think it's just because I like things that are twisted, and some of the ways in which this is different, it's less twisted, and I missed that, frankly. And also, there is a shot towards the end of the movie that is so horribly done. I feel like either Spike Lee or his editor fell asleep and just assumed that moment was finished.
No.
Yes. What it feels like is like they forgot to take out the first 3 seconds of the cut.
Okay, I'll look for it. I'm gonna look for it. I'm gonna look for it.
Yeah.
Can I say something a little bit racist?
I see no way of stopping you.
Okay, like, I'm not ready yet to have a whole new genre of foreign films that I go, well, I saw the original in Korean. Like, there's a lot of Korean movies coming out right now. Like, there's a lot of sort of buzz around a lot of Korean, like, films. Raid Redemption is another one, right? And there's a few other ones. What's his name? Park Chan. I'm going to say his name wrong.
Wook.
Park Chan Wook. I didn't want to say that wrong. Right now in my brain, foreign movie means Japanese, Italian, and then maybe Spanish and French.
Really?
Yes.
Really? You lump Spain and France together at the end in a maybe?
Yes.
Oh.
No, part of that is because to like French movies, nope. It's just that I don't have, because it means all sorts of things that aren't true about me. Like
Jean-Paul Genet is weeping sadly.
Oh, you're right. Okay. You're right. But he's like the lone. You're right. I take it back.
That's fair.
You know what? Jeanette, and I'm not just gonna say Jeanette. I'm gonna say and Caro, because the first 2 movies he made were with a guy named Caro that I don't know what happened to him. No one ever talks about this. He made Delicatessen and Children of City of Lost Children with a guy named Caro and Jeanette and Caro, and then Caro just disappeared off the face of the earth, and no one's talking about it.
Okay.
So so you're right. I will add them, and so to all of a sudden be like, that was a good movie, but the Korean original, I'm just not there yet in my racist little heart. I'll get there. I'm like 20 years behind the times. I promise I'll get there.
You ready for this? There's a great Korean war movie from about a decade ago called Taegukgi, which is also...
Yes, I've heard of it. Heard of it. Okay. And I was like...
Netflix that baby. It's awesome.
In another 10 years, I'll be ready for it. That's what it sounds like.
I saw it... I had like a Korean section of my Netflix queue, and I saw it like within a month of... of seeing Oldboy in the theaters. I may have... That may be conflating in my memory, but yeah.
There's one called Mother that came out a couple years back. There's a bunch of movies that are out that I want to see, but just
Sure.
I'll get there.
I'm not judging you.
I'm judging me. I'm judging me. We're all set.
I mean, I might be judging you for considering this racist, but I mean, that's not. But it's not because you're racist. It's because you're ridiculous.
You're right. Well, I think we need to move on from my racist ridiculousness. All right, so can I say my one big thing?
Yes.
Okay. We talked a little bit about this with Wes Anderson, but I want to talk about Whit Stillman for a second.
Please do.
I have had his movie. I never went and saw it at the theater because I think it was out for a second. His most recent movie, Damsels in Distress. Whit Stillman made 3 movies in the 90s, Metropolitan Barcelona and The Last Days of Disco. And then 12 years later made this movie, Damsels in Distress. When a guy who I love... Okay, here's the thing. Do you remember what I told you that when I saw Moonrise Kingdom, I needed to go all by myself and see it by myself?
Yes, I do.
The reason why was that I don't even want to deal with the pressure of what someone else might think about this movie immediately after I've seen the movie, because for better and for worse, the way I feel about Wes Anderson movies is very personal.
Yes.
Now, I would say something very similar about Whit Stillman.
Okay.
Except that Whit Stillman, on some level, it's less personal, and on some level, it's more personal. And here's what I mean.
Well, that's totally infuriating. Please elaborate.
I know. On the way that it's less personal, Wes Anderson movies cut me to a place in my heart that I can't let you make fun of them because I don't want to hurt anybody.
Right.
Right? Whit Stillman's movies never cut me to that place. But the way that the characters talk and the petty things that they care about are so directly in my wheelhouse that and that I recognize right out of the gates there are people who will not care about his stuff. Like Wes Anderson, I'm like, if you don't like this, why don't you go kick a puppy? But like Whit Stillman, for some reason I don't expect other people to like it. And when they do, I'm like, oh, you like that too.
Right.
Like, he's a very specific kind of filmmaker. And I don't know why I almost feel like guilty. Like, if someone was like, would you recommend Damsels in Distress? I'd be like, maybe? But would I watch Damsels in Distress again tomorrow? Absolutely. And I was like typing out quotes of it while I was watching it. Like, I was pausing and rewinding and listening to it again. The man is one of the smartest screenwriters I know of. Just brilliant screenplays.
Awesome.
And I love his touch, and I love the actors that he picks. But there's something clinical about the characters. There's something sort of distant about them. And, like, imagine if every movie Ang Lee made was The Ice Storm, only funnier.
Oh my God.
But here's the deal. I should say this, but none of the four are devastating at all. So not the devastating part, but the way that everyone interacts with each other.
Okay. Wait.
Like it's very well, no, like it's very like if there's a very stilted way that people interact with each other in The Ice Storm. And there's a very stilted way that everybody interacts with each other in Whit Stillman movies. And so I guess like what I want to say is Whit Stillman makes movies that I wonder sometimes if there are other people out there besides me and maybe my brother and my friend Alyssa, but maybe not, and that's kind of okay with me. Like I don't. It's like okay, but it's like weird. I'm like I hope he keeps making movies for me.
Well, does
that make sense?
It does, and that's really well said because at the end of the day, that's it's nice that you have someone like that because that's what it's like for everyone. Like I mean, I hope Christopher Nolan keeps making movies. But I'm sorry if this hurts you. I don't care if you ever see any of them.
No, but,
you know
the
what I mean?
reality is, but the reality is, Christopher Nolan has reached this point in his career where you know that part of the reason you're going to go out and see it is actually because you got to be on top of the conversation.
Oh, that's well said. That's well said.
And like
that's
Tarantino,
right.
Come on, like I'm gonna see. And I don't love Stillman. I don't love Whit Stillman on the level of Tarantino or the Coen Brothers or Scorsese.
Right.
But like his best stuff is like as good. It's like really good waspy Woody Allen. It's like really good waspy Woody.
Nice.
It's like his Damsels in Distress is better than any Woody Allen movie I've seen recently. Although I haven't seen Blue Jasmine yet.
Sure. Now, would you say now is it the Woody Allen of like Bullets Over Broadway, or is it the Woody Allen of like Hannah and Her Sisters and Interiors and like
Hannah and Her Sisters.
Oh.
It's very but even then, like somehow all of his movies seem to be lighter than that. They're very on their surface very frothy or very light. But then they sit with you. Like the characters are real.
Right.
Like nothing happens that's tragic or like life altering, and yet that's all I have to say about it.
Sure. That's fair. Okay.
So,
okay.
I'll leave it with an and yet.
And yet. I watched something that I didn't include in my list of 3 because it's not a movie, but I thought it was a movie, and it's coming in as my one big thing. I don't remember the name of it. Suffice to say, a few weeks ago, one of the movies I watched was a thing streaming on Netflix called Planet Hulk. It might have been a Marvel cartoon. Might have been.
Might have been.
And it was frankly great. I mean, it's a cartoon. It's not Miyazaki. It's not, reinventing the form, but it was a fun diversion for an hour and like 15 minutes or whatever. This was the reason it doesn't make my list is because it was sort of billed as one movie, but it's actually 3 episode, like short, like one was like 15 minutes long. And that's fine. I love one of the good things about sort of the to use the term balkanization of the way we get content, like it's so splintered these days. Is that people feel you know what, if you want your series finale to be 75 minutes long, Breaking Bad, you do it. if you're telling a story that needs to be 15 minutes long instead of 22, go for it. But it was.
I love that you bring that up. I think. By the way, I love that you bring that up because it would always like. I remember The Sopranos breaking through that mold and being like, you'd like tape it and it'd be like an hour and 10, and then other times you'd tape it and the episode would end 45 minutes in, and you'd be like, what?
Yes.
Less than what?
Yes. Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, that's right, and that was absolutely at the forefront, right? Of no, we're just going to tell a story that is as long as it needs to be, and we're not going to, like, if it ends up being 1.5 times as long, we're not going to fluff it up with another half a show and just make it a two-parter. It's just going to be as long as it needs to be.
Right.
The reason I bring it up now, though, is it was 3 stories that were all DC Comics. There was a Superman, there was a Green Arrow, and there was a Jonah Hex story, and they were all terrible, terrible, like the voice talent was ridiculous. They had John DiMaggio, who's a very well known voice actor, but they also had like Liv Tyler and Thomas Hayden Church and like just a ton of really respected actors. It was terrible. And so my one big thing is, DC, get your bleep together. Just get it together. Because literally in every way you are lagging behind. You have nothing good on your resume. You cannot include the Christopher Nolan Batman movies because those happened in spite of you, not because of you. That is like Marvel taking credit for the first Iron Man, when that was kind of lightning in a bottle, and then they saw the response to it, and then they were like, ooh, let's make this Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because if they take credit for that, they gotta also shoulder the load for, Daredevil and Elektra, right?
Yeah.
And both Punisher movies, which no.
Which no.
And so I mean that's all I got. I just like it makes me sad because Marvel, and this is sort of a difference in the ethos of the two companies. Marvel is absolutely has the more relatable stable, right? I mean,
sure.
They're teenagers and young people and older people, but they like Peter Parker is worried about paying his bills and does my dream girl like me?
Right.
Superman, functionally a god. Batman, functionally a god. Yeah, I get that he's human and he has but like he has so much money and he's a god, right? Like that
is really how I define divinity anyway, just by having the right amount of money. It's just I'm teasing, but I understand what you're saying completely. And but here's the tricky thing, right?
Yeah.
Here's the tricky thing about DC is that they like what you're saying is true that Marvel is more relatable, but the DC characters are generally more iconic.
You finished my thought for me. That's absolutely it.
That's the whole like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and I'll say it, Aquaman. I grew up on the Wonder Friends. Like, they came up with the idea. Yes. Or at least to me, like, they were the ones who were like, put them all together.
Yes. Justice League, absolutely.
I grew up on Superman and Batman.
Green Lantern is a cop that patrols the entire universe, right? There is room in our lives for, you know what it's like? Follow me around this bend. It's like Lord of the Rings. It's like Lord of the Rings. You know what that is? It's mythology. You know what we could use more of in our life? Well-told mythology.
Agreed.
Agreed. And so I've loved both iterations of Spider-Man. So even Marvel movies that are not under the Marvel Studios banner. And you know what? When Marvel, and I know that they're not good movies, Marvel fans don't get on me for this, but like when Marvel, you need to chill out, bro. When Marvel tries to do operatic, you get the Fantastic Four. Which is fine. Right. I hear that the comics are great, but that's the kind of stuff I'd rather leave to DC, right? I want Peter Parker depressed, walking like Charlie Brown with his hands in his pockets down the street in Queens, right?
I hear you except Iron Man and Thor. You said that Bruce Wayne has so much money and Superman is essentially a god. Well, Thor is a god. And Tony Stark has so much money.
Right, but you know what Tony Stark has that Bruce Wayne doesn't have, at least in all of the iconic storylines? alcoholism.
Oh, okay.
You know what I
like
mean?
he's a disaster. Yeah, no, you're right. Fair
He's a
enough.
disaster.
Fair enough.
And as for Thor, I mean, if it's possible to take literally a god and make him less than a god, that's actually what Thor does. He doesn't spend a lot of time, like they haven't actually done this with the movies, but he spends a lot of time as like an unassuming dude named Donald Blake in the comics. Yeah. And then he picks up the hammer and transforms into Thor. Are they
going to go that direction with Thor 3?
I don't know. If he spends more time on Earth, it's possible.
But that's how,
because they've already done it on Earth, and he doesn't have to change into someone else to be on Earth. So no,
but if he's going to spend more time, he might have to.
That's fair. I don't know.
Interesting. We see what happens. If they go that way with it, I might see the third one. If they do something crazy like that.
Right.
So,
but frankly, that doesn't necessarily disprove my point. You were less interested in Thor 2, and he was less relatable because he's more godlike in Thor 2.
That could be true.
So we need mythology done well, DC, and you're the people who have to give it to us. Marvel can't do it because it's not what they do. Nope. Step up. Yep. You know what? Man of Steel wasn't it.
I got to tell you, I don't think we need them to step up because we now have Alfonso Cuarón making mythology with every movie he makes, and
that's well said.
So we may get some good Star Wars soon. We might not.
That's well said. That's well said.
Anyways,
let's move on.
Shall we?
Yeah.
To one of the greatest movies I have ever seen. Can we move on to that?
You know what, Phil? I insist.
Okay.
I insist.
We're talking about a little movie, people, from the year 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think back to a simpler time when men were men and women liked them that way? The year 2011. I don't know what that means. I don't know.
I don't know. But I like
this movie, Andy Warrior. I don't know how long our conversation's actually going to be. You've wanted me to see this for a very long time. Andy really wanted me to see this movie, and for some reason I just decided to, because he wanted me to see it so bad, that I was just like, I don't know what that was about.
This is what I put up with on a daily basis.
But what I do know is I did see it, and was texting Andy in the middle of the movie going, I'm only an hour in, and oh my gosh, wow. So, and then I made my brother see it, and then he and I were talking about it yesterday, and we were both just like, he was like, but the thing about it is, and I thought he was going to say something negative, and he was like, this is perfect. Like, everything he'd be like, I was like, yeah! I thought he was going to be like, but the problem is, but he was like, but the problem is, it's amazing in every way. And I'm like, that is the problem.
The problem is, no one's teaching it in our high schools. Like,
he was like, my wife is like, when do I stop crying? And I was like, you don't. You just...
Wait, your wife or his wife?
His wife. He said his wife was like, wait, when are we supposed to stop crying? And I was like, nope.
There is a moment in this movie. And it's different every time, but it's never more than, say, 70% of the way through the movie, where I just don't stop crying for the remainder of the movie. It's just like, this time through, this is where I'm crying. Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough.
I guess I'll just start crying now.
I'll get, which is not to say it's the first time I cry in the movie, because I cry throughout the movie, but there's always a watershed, literally, moment where I'm just like, oh no, this is what I'm doing for the remainder of the film.
That's what happens to me at Up.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's not the only movie that's like that. So, briefly, it's sort of impossible to spoil this movie, and yet, if I were to tell you the ending, I would have to banish myself to watching Brett Ratner movies for the rest of my life.
Oh gosh, Andy, no one deserves that.
Nobody, so I have to tread carefully.
I know one person who deserves that.
Brett Ratner.
He deserves it.
It's true. No, you sit and you watch it.
Of course, he probably thinks they're good.
Right. Woohoo! Popcorn.
Tower heist again.
Rush Hour 3. So it is about the world of MMA, mixed martial arts fighting, or ultimate fighting, UFC, cage fighting, but in the big time. And it is something that I am at least a little bit interested in now, but whatever interest I have is because of this movie. I used to think it is unbelievably brutal, like it's like boxing except even more dangerous, blah, blah, blah. It's actually less dangerous than boxing because few bouts actually end in knockout, and it's more about this is going to sound barbaric, and maybe it is, but far more bouts are about end because someone is like yanking somebody's arm out of their socket, and the person taps out and says, "I'm done. I'm done. This is too painful. Let us stop." And these fighters are trained to, you don't want to be injured. Just tap out.
Right.
Just take the loss, right?
Right.
As opposed to boxing, where it's like you will need to get punched in the head a lot, which will kill you early. Like I mean, there's no way around it. Like, people don't. It's discussed in the movie like you could get killed in the ring, and that's certainly possible. But people don't die in the ring if it's UFC the way they do in boxing. It doesn't happen nearly as much, if ever. And into this world, so functionally, it's a sports movie, and it is not reinventing the wheel in terms of the structure of a sports movie. And I guess the closest analog is Rocky, and you know that I love me.
I do
some
know that
Rocky.
about. I know that about you, Andy.
I
know
even
that
love
about you.
some of the sequels, chiefly the last sequel, which I think is the best one since the first one. Okay. Except for Rocky IV, where he solves the Cold War.
Ends the Cold War. Come on. But I hear what you're saying.
This movie is better than Rocky. This movie's better than Rocky. And Rocky won Best Picture, and this one got not a sniff. Maybe Nick Nolte was nominated for supporting actor. Every Oscars all around for this movie. Love this movie.
It deserved to have Oscars. Can I say something though, real quick?
Please do.
You said that this is an MMA movie, and I would say this is an MMA movie the way that Friday Night Lights is about football.
You're right.
Which is I would almost not tell people that.
Right.
Partially because it would turn a lot of people off.
Right.
But also partially because it's kind of false advertising. Like it's about
family.
this family.
Yeah.
And when we were just talking about mythology, and I think this movie has such great mythological work done in it. It plays with the brotherhood myth. It plays with which is really key. I mean, you look at like Cain and Abel and Jacob and Esau, and, like it's just got this like, that's such a huge aspect to this movie, but it's really played out like really carefully.
Yeah.
It's like a real deep, I mean, the whole last, and the great thing about myth is symbols. And basically MMA actually becomes a symbol. And I actually think that mixed martial arts unpopularity or people's lack of knowledge about it will actually help in that.
Well said.
Because they're learning about the sport through the story.
Yes.
And then the movie is not like, even though the climax, of course, is a fight.
Right.
It's also, the climax is like the only outcome this movie could have, and it actually sets up a situation where these two people actually need to actually fight each other for the sake of a resolution to their relationship.
Yes. Yes. Well said. All of that is well said.
Whereas it's not necessarily true that two football teams need to play each other for the resolution of a relationship.
That's right.
Or even, I mean, like Rocky. I love Rocky. I mean, Rocky. He said, Rocky is not about Rocky and Apollo.
It's about Rocky and Adrian. That's absolutely right.
Right. Rocky 2 is.
Right, really, and that's why it's the worst of the. That's why it's the worst of them.
Right,
yes.
Right, because of the bromance. But Rocky is about Rocky and Adrian, and really about Rocky. Like It's about how he. But this movie, like this fight, needs to happen for all involved.
Yes.
And then not only that, but the way that it's resolved is it's the perfect resolution to the story.
It took me by surprise, and yet made total sense. And the only reason that both of those things can be true is because I was so engrossed that I wasn't thinking 1 second ahead of what I was seeing.
That's interesting. I was watching it going, Like this is one of the movies that I didn't predict every little bit of it, and that's what's beautiful to me about it is the things that they decided to do, the look between the father and son in the last scene.
Ugh.
And I'm gonna start crying. And the I don't know. You see, if you've never seen it, all I said is the look. You don't even know what the look is. You don't know which son. You don't know what I'm talking about.
That's right.
Andy knows the look. The way, literally the last moments of the movie after the resolution.
Yes.
The words that are being spoken during the resolution, the way that it resolves itself, the way that the fight resolves, but the tournament itself is plays right into sports. I don't even want to use the word cliches, but tropes.
Yes.
And yet, I was like, oh, he's gonna have to fight that guy because that's the guy his wife is most scared of, and he's gonna have to fight that guy because he's gonna have to prove that he wasn't a flash in the pan.
Yes.
And those things totally happen.
Yes.
And you know that in the final they have to meet each other because, dear God, come on.
Right, because the movie isn't done wrecking you.
So there's things like that I knew. I was like, okay, well, that has to happen for this. And so to that end, it's not quote-unquote original. But I'll tell you what, there are movies where originality has nothing to do with anything.
Yep.
Like, the author of Ecclesiastes says there's nothing new under the sun, and he said that 3,000 years ago. And the reality is, there isn't anything new under the sun. It's not about originality. It's about authenticity and truth in storytelling. And dear God, this movie is filled with truth.
You want to know the best example of that? Or I can't even say best, but a good example of that from the movie?
Please.
They mine new metaphorical meaning out of Moby Dick.
I know!
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Like
like
couldn't have done it. Couldn't have done that.
Oh.
This movie is grand.
Yeah.
That's the reality. It's grand.
Yes.
And yet, and here's what I want to say to you. Completely manageable. Completely watchable. By manageable, I mean Lawrence of Arabia's grand, but come on, how much time do you have today? This is a 2-hour movie. It might be less than 2 hours.
Yeah. Yes.
And it feels it's perfectly self-contained.
Agreed.
I just
I I love that you just compared it not unfavorably to Lawrence of Arabia. I'm totally comfortable with that. But yes,
you're welcome.
Something I didn't know. You know who the director is in the movie?
Oh, I didn't know that.
He's the guy who puts Sparta together. The guy who's like, didn't you always want to know who the toughest kid in the neighborhood was?
Oh, that's adorable.
Isn't that great?
Adorable.
Isn't that great?
That's right. That's great.
Gavin O'Connor, I say you are the toughest kid in the neighborhood.
There you go.
Okay.
I am, based on the fact that the other movie of his that he made that I know of is Miracle. Miracle was pretty good.
Yep.
This movie makes me go like, but the fact that he made this and Miracle makes me wonder what kind of movie comes next for him. Is this a guy who's going to be one of the great talents, or is this a flash in the pan great movie? And by the way, if it's a flash in the pan great movie, like,
doesn't make it not a great movie.
Wild Thing by the Trogs is still one of the greatest rock songs of all time.
It's true.
And I will never buy an album by the Trogs. You understand what I'm saying?
No, not you don't celebrate their entire catalog.
But every time it's on the radio, I'm like, crank it.
That's right. So I want to talk about, he just signed on for something, and I don't remember what it is. Oh, he signed on. He is taking over for Ben Affleck on one of his folks who are just listening to us. Phil is on these ridiculous sunglasses. I can't take you seriously. He's taking over for Ben Affleck on something.
I hope it's not on the marriage to Jennifer Garner. That would be weird.
I'm reasonably sure it's not. Oh, Jane Got a Gun, which is a Western starring Natalie Portman. So he's certainly his career is certainly, he's getting more high profile things, which is nice. What I want to talk about, and this is the last thing I want to talk about, but except I could talk about this movie forever, the acting. And I want you to say these names, okay? Joel Edgerton, who you might also know as the bad guy from the Baz Luhrmann Great Gatsby.
Stop.
I know. He is He's in an Australian movie called Animal Kingdom, which I literally have sitting next to me. I'm going to watch it soon. It's apparently amazing, like a crime drama.
Is he Australian?
He is.
Oh,
Both the brothers are Australian because Tom.
That's
Is Tom
so
Hardy
disappointing.
British?
He's British. That's disappointing to me.
Okay. So yeah. Joel Edgerton is phenomenal. If you know Tom Hardy from Inception,
Yep.
or Shame on You, This Means War, or even from The Dark Knight Rises, you are not properly excited by the talent that is Tom Hardy.
It is very clear to me, having seen this movie, why Christopher Nolan chose him for Bane.
Yes.
But further than that, he is 10 times more terrifying in this movie than he is as Bane.
That's right. His breakthrough role was a movie called Bronson. And it is like this movie, and it is like Bane in Dark Knight Rises, in that he is just a force of nature in it. He's a little people love it and I don't love the movie. It's by Nicholas Winding Refn, the guy who did Drive.
I will see it then.
I like Drive more, but Tom Hardy clearly announces himself in the same way that if you saw this movie first, this is the movie in which he announces himself.
He literally terrifies me until the last moment. Like, I'm terrified of him the entire movie. It's amazing.
Indeed. God, when he comes out from his corner, it's like
stop! Like, it's nightmares. It's this.
Animal.
It's a nightmare.
He's an animal.
It's a nightmare.
Yes.
But he's worse than an animal because he's a person and he knows what he's doing.
That's right.
In the sense of, like, an animal's like all they do is pounce. This is a person who has made the decision to become that on purpose.
You're right.
It's terrifying.
That's right.
Terrifying.
Anyways, the Jennifer Morrison, Nick Nolte.
Love her in this.
So good. Where she's waiting
Nick
for
Nolte.
the phone. Where she's waiting for the phone to ring.
Yes.
Are you kidding me? And then she knocks on the table.
Yes.
If you don't love her in that moment, I don't know what to tell you. Nick Nolte, he deserves all of the awards for just all of the awards. But I want to talk. I just want to say their names. All right. I want to talk about Frank Grillo. Frank Grillo is Joel Edgerton's coach.
Yep.
And he has a speech that I am not going to be able to talk about without crying. When he is just reminding Brendan of the stakes, and there is so much love.
Oh my
There's
God.
so much love.
Here's the thing that people don't understand. When you watch his character, it could do the exact same character and have no love in it. And instead, his character, and he's a coach who coaches people to punch other people in the face and kick them. And he is made of heart. He is made of pure love and heart. I've never seen anything like it. His whole Beethoven thing. You know Beethoven.
Classical music.
But not just classical. Like, he picked Beethoven, who is, I mean, I know it's cliche. Like, you have there's like 3 or 4 guys that are, but Beethoven really is like, I listen to Beethoven a lot. Beethoven is like the composer that I feel the closest to. He's the one I know was music the best, by far the best, above anybody. I love Beethoven so much that when the first time he did that, I was like, this better not be a gimmick. And by the last time he did it, I was like, say it again. Like, because I love Beethoven so much that if someone just brings him up in a Hollywood movie, I'm like, how's this gonna go? You know what I mean? Like, of all things.
Yes.
Anyways.
I want, like, Frank Grillo in this. Watch this movie and then watch The Grey.
Yep.
And if Frank Grillo doesn't vault into your top 3 that guys,
yep.
At some point we're gonna have to have a conversation. Like, I just
or stop having conversations.
Or stop. Well, yes, one of the two. He has one scene. He might be in more than one scene, but functionally one scene in End of Watch, which he kills the same way that he kills his big moments in The Grey and his big moments in this. And
I'm ready for that.
Frank Grillo, man, he is a supplementary villain in the next in Captain America 2.
Okay.
And the only reason I care about that, well, there are 2. One, he will imbue it with far more humanity than it deserves. And I say that, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Also, Anthony Mackie is in that movie. So there are a whole bunch of more humanity than it deserves performances coming our way in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. But
Right.
but the other reason I care about that is I want to see him. Not that John Hawkes is burning up Hollywood right now, but
Right.
he has more of a career than Frank Grillo, and I want Frank Grillo and John Hawkes to have the same career, for their careers to be 10 times bigger, and for them to get like a timeshare together. I love both of them so much,
And then I want to watch that TV show.
and then I want to watch that TV show.
Grillo and Hawks? Come on.
Wisecracking detectives.
They
Yes.
solve crimes all day long.
All day long.
All right.
I-
Well, I think I don't want to talk about this movie anymore because I want to watch it now.
I know.
Okay.
But
You're right about everything you just said.
Yeah. Guys, I don't care if you don't like watching people punch
yeah.
other people.
No,
I
it doesn't
don't
matter.
care. I don't
No.
care. See Warrior. It is.
Yep.
It is.
My wife
majestic.
liked it. This is
Oh.
not a. This isn't actually a guys' movie, even though it's about guys.
Yep. Agreed.
Okay. I'm gonna go take a break.
I'm spent. I'm
I'm
spent.
gonna go lie down for a while.
Folks, happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, quite.
We're glad that for those of you in America, you're having a day to be hopefully with family and eat a lot of food that is of middling nutritional value, at best.
I was gonna say middling. What are you doing wrong?
at best. And for those of you listening to us from places not on our shores, welcome to Second Breakfast Nation anyway.
Good to have you back.
That'll be it. This will be it for this week, but we will see you again next week. For Second Breakfast, I am Andy Roth, and that's Phil Duvall. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
The most important meal of the day, second breakfast.